You know those people that even as a child could already boldly say they knew exactly what they wanted to be or do with their lives? Yeah, I'm in awe of such people because I am certainly not one of them. I've wanted to be several things over the range of my conscious years, including a real estate agent, a writer, and even, dare I say it, a model. I was like 10, okay? Yet sometimes I still feel like I'm not even so sure. But that's another video of its own. Yet here I am practicing medicine as a doctor, and to say that it's been a life-changing experience is the biggest understatement of the year. But what being a doctor is really like, it's not like what we've seen on TV shows like Grey's Anatomy and House, especially in Nigeria. At least it hasn't been in my experience. It's funny because it's pretty obvious that dealing with the symptoms of a thing without actually finding and managing the root cause isn't very productive. It's almost like pouring water in a basket. Of course, the caveat is if the root cause is incurable or if it will pass away with time, like in viral diseases. Yet we do this all the time. Why do we think this is acceptable with our time and actions and even emotions? Why do we sometimes avoid self-awareness? And if you're anything like me, why do we sometimes avoid confrontation, just hoping that everything will be swept under the rug? Well, it turns out it can't. Sometimes I'd find myself irritable for no reason or lethargic for no apparent reason, but I've realized that it isn't enough to just downplay or even ignore these emotions. I need to ask myself why, the real why, because it's much more important. And so, as the most basic of clinical knowledge, that was my first lesson. Take a detailed history from the patient. Being yourself with things like journaling. Now, if there's one thing I've learned from my often vague but brief study of biochemistry, and probably the only thing I remember, it's that details matter. They make all the difference in the world. It's how the substitution of a single amino acid within what makes up the red blood cell can lead to the infamous sickle cell anemia. And this reminds me of how much we take for granted, Our being here right now in this very moment is because of a lot of amazing processes currently going on in our bodies right now. And it's made me more appreciative of my body and my life in general. And it's not because there aren't things I'd love to change about the way I look or the way I sound, but somehow gratitude just manages to linger somewhere in the background. As someone who has known what it's like at some point to have difficulty in breathing, I sometimes just like to remind myself to take a deep breath and appreciate this moment when I can. It's almost this thing of never really appreciating that you're fine or that you're well or that you don't have a stuffy nose until you're actually sick. And so I try to stop being so hard on myself and appreciate my body for actually doing the work that it's supposed to be doing, even if there is room for improvement. At the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to figure out this humanity thing. But this has become more apparent to me when examining patients or reviewing x-rays. We're all made up of flesh and bones and blood. Most, if not all of us, have known the ache of a belly or that of a loss of something or someone. We all have fears, but as different as those fears might be, they all often stem from the same thing. A desire to be loved, to be validated, to live and to live well. And you never really know what anyone is really going through underneath the glitz and glam. I, of all people, should know. I do have to examine people in their most vulnerable states. And this is one of the reasons I particularly find jealousy a pretty useless emotion, except for the one thing I think it actually does. It robs us of our ability to simply enjoy our individual journeys, as if each day was a given. And so a question I often ask myself is, if comparison is the thief of joy, why do we keep allowing this robbery? My fourth lesson is that life sucks. Yes. I mean, life is as gory as it can be glorious. You go from resuscitating a barely breathing newborn back into life to delivering bad news to a woman about a cancerous lump you just discovered. Things don't always go according to plan, and there's only so much we can plan anyway. It's rarely ever just black or white, despite what the people of the internet think. But wobbling through the gray is probably what life is about. Because what fun is monochrome anyway? I really don't think that our experiences are isolated, so please do share any particularly interesting life lessons you've learned, especially if it's a near-death experience. I'm really fascinated by those ones. If you're comfortable with sharing, of course. Alright, I will see you in the comment section.